Hello everyone, welcome to this series on cultural studies, and in this video we are going to discuss the role of Theodor W. Adorno in the field. Introduction. Theodor W. Adorno 1903 to 1969 was a towering figure in German philosophy, musicology and cultural criticism. As a prominent member of Frankfurt School of Critical Theorists, he stands alongside Husserl, Heidegger, Gadamer, and Wittgenstein as one of the most important German language philosophers of the 20th century. His prolific output encompasses a broad range of studies, including significant contributions to philosophy, music, sociology, and cultural criticism. Among his extensive body of work, three of his most significant philosophical contributions stand out. Dialectic of Enlightenment 1944, co-written with Max Horkheimer, Negative Dialectics 1966, and the posthumously published Aesthetic Theory 1970. Childhood and education. Adorno was born into a comfortable and cultured family. His father was an assimilated Jewish wine merchant and his mother, a professional singer, was of Corsican Catholic descent. Unlike Walter Benjamin, whose childhood experiences of frustration fueled his intellectual pursuits, Adorno's early life was marked by a sense of fulfillment, which later served as a benchmark against which he measured life's privations. His mother's maiden name, Adorno, became his own surname in the late 1930s, replacing his patronymic Wiesengrund. From a young age, Adorno was immersed in both music and philosophy. He trained as a pianist and earned a doctorate on Edmund Husserl's phenomenology by the age of 21. He then studied composition with Alban Berg in Vienna before returning to Frankfurt to prepare his habilitational script on the concept of unconscious in the Transcendental Theory of the Mind in 1927. Although this ambitious work did not secure him the right to teach, it showcased the breadth of his intellectual pursuits, blending unorthodox neo-Kantian interpretations of Freud with Marxist conclusions. Career beginnings. In 1928, Adorno became the editor of the Viennese musical journal Anbruch and shifted his focus on Kierkegaard for his second attempt at the habilitation. This study, published in 1933, was significant not only for its timing, coinciding with Hitler's rise to power, but also for its methodological influences and stylistic nuances. Adorno's early works, including his inaugural lecture at the University of Frankfurt and his talk to the Frankfurt branch of the Kantian Society, reflect the influence of Benjamin's Origin of German Tragic Drama, a critical stance against Heidegger's existentialism, and a stylistic depth to Schoenberg's compositional techniques. Exile and intellectual development. Adorno's intellectual journey took a significant turn during his period of exile from Germany 1934 to 1950, initially in Oxford and later in the United States with the rest of the Frankfurt School. His collaboration with Horkheimer and his ongoing internalized debate with Benjamin shaped the development of his philosophical position. Despite these influences, the broad contours of his thought remained remarkably consistent. His philosophy interrogated the possibility and form of thought after the critique of idealism, emphasized the historical character of philosophies as idealized reflections of social forms, and scrutinized the separation of reason from aesthetic sensuousness and its impact on subjectivity. Philosophical method and core ideas. Central to Adorno's philosophy is the tension between the immanence of critique and the aspiration to transcendence inherent in the concept of reason. His goal was to maintain this tension productively, exposing cultural practices and products as manifestations of historical reason. He sought to renew dialectical thought in response to the perceived regression of Marxist critique into a rigid system. Initially, Adorno adopted a hermeneutical model of philosophy as interpretation influenced by Benjamin and the early German Romantics. This model evolved into his unique notion of philosophy as a form of experience termed second reflection, which examines the reflective relationship between subject and object. This concept, alongside negative dialectics, represents a compromise between Kantian and Hegelian thought. Philosophy for Adorno aspires to transcendence but exists only in historically and socially specific forms. It must recognize its own limitations to avoid the delusion of archived universality and instead engage in an ongoing dialectical process. Adorno's philosophical method combines a Kantian emphasis on the limits of reason with Hegelian dialectical reflection. Unlike Hegel, however, Adorno does not believe in the achievement of the absolute. It remains a speculative horizon for thought concerned with truth. Adorno's well-known aphorisms, "the whole is the untrue," and "universal history must be constructed and denied," encapsulate his perspective on the perpetual movement between universality and particularity. Categories of Adorno's work. Adorno's work can be categorized in three types: social critiques of philosophies, philosophical criticism of culture, and purely philosophical writings. His cultural criticism, for which he is best known, cannot be fully understood without grasping his philosophical rationale. English language media and cultural studies have often misinterpreted Adorno's work as a defense of high culture against mass culture. However, Adorno saw high and low culture as complementary parts of a larger whole, both marked by the effects of capitalism and containing elements of change. Cultural criticism and mass culture. Despite this framework, Adorno had a clear preference for the modernist avant-garde over mass culture. He viewed the former as embodying artistic autonomy and potential for social critique, whereas the latter, exemplified by jazz, was seen as catering to conformist desires and lacking critical engagement. This distinction is evident in Adorno's contrasting views on Schoenberg's new music and jazz. Adorno argued that Schoenberg's music resisted commodification through its internal critique of social form, while jazz was dominated by its commodity status, offering simple recipes for listener gratification. Adorno's cultural writings are notable for their treatment of popular culture as products of the culture industries, central to ideological manipulation in capitalist societies. His relationship with Marxism and psychoanalysis is complex. Adorno applied Marxist political economy to cultural analysis, viewing Marx's theory of value as a sociology of cultural form. He extended this to critique the structure of equivalence in thought itself, identifying a form of instrumental reason that reduces object to abstract properties. Adorno's Marxism and psychoanalysis. Adorno's Marxism is both orthodox in its adherence to the law of value and heterodox in its allegorical application to all human relations. His concept of reification, derived from Lukács, describes the transformation of social relations into relations between things, a permanent feature of human existence. Adorno's pessimistic vision of a totally administered society reflects his critique of both capitalist and state socialist societies. Psychoanalytic concepts, particularly those influenced by Fromm, also play a significant role in Adorno's thought. He applied these concepts to social and historical contexts, as seen in his collective study, The Authoritarian Personality. This work, though methodologically atypical, exemplifies Adorno's interest in the psychological underpinnings of societal phenomena. Collaborations and major works. Adorno's collaborative works with Horkheimer, especially Dialectic of Enlightenment, are marked by their grandiose and ambiguous historico-philosophical speculations. These writings, characterized by stylistic exaggerations, reflect Adorno's belief in the importance of philosophical language. His Minima Moralia, Reflections from Damaged Life, influenced by Schlegel and Benjamin, stands out as a distinctive philosophical work. Legacy and contemporary relevance. Adorno's writings, often criticized for their pessimism and theoretical negativity, have seen a resurgence of interest, particularly in aesthetics and post-structuralist contexts. His relevance to contemporary debates in philosophy and cultural theory continues to be a subject of intense discussion. Adorno's complex and multifaceted legacy remains a crucial part of understanding 20th century thought and its implications for the present. So this was the discussion on the role of Theodor W. Adorno in the field of cultural studies. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other concept. Until then, goodbye and thank you.